All right, today we're going to use our unit circle to find some of our trig functions without having to compute very much. So let's go over the top of this worksheet very quickly. Remember, in the coordinate plane, if you're in quadrant 1, your x and your y are both positive. If you're in quadrant 2, your x is negative and your y is positive. If you're in quadrant 3, x and y are both negative. And if you're in quadrant 4, x is positive, but y is negative. So from our discussion yesterday, okay, talking about sine is y, cosine is x, and tangent is y over x. Okay, in quadrant 1, y is positive, x is positive, so positive over positive is positive. So if sine, cosine, and tangent are all positive, then cosecant, secant, and cotangent are all positive. So all of our trig functions from quadrant 1 are positive. Now if you look over here in quadrant 2, x is negative. So that tells me cosine and its reciprocal function secant are both going to be negative. Okay? Y is positive, so sine and its reciprocal function cosecant are going to be positive. Now, tangent is y over x, so that'll be positive over negative, which is negative. So tangent is going to be negative, and its reciprocal function, cotangent, is going to be negative. Okay, in the third quadrant, x and y are both negative, so sine and cosine are negative. That means their reciprocal function, cosecant and secant, are negative. Tangent is y over x, or negative over negative, which is positive. So if tangent is positive, then cotangent is positive. And then in the fourth quadrant, cosine, which is x, is positive, so that means that secant is positive. Y is negative, so that means sine and its reciprocal function, cosecant, are negative. Tangent y over x, or a negative over a positive, is a negative, so tangent is negative, so cotangent is negative from the fourth quadrant. Now, quadrant 1, which trig functions are positive in quadrant 1? All of them, okay? Now, think about quadrant 2. Which trig functions are positive? That's going to be your y value, which is your sine. So we know that sine is positive, and its reciprocal function, the cosecant, is going to be positive. Now in quadrant 3, what's positive? That's going to be the tangent, y over x. So if tangent is positive, that means the cotangent is positive. And in quadrant 4, we know that cosine is the only thing that's positive. So cosine is positive, and its reciprocal function, which is the secant, is positive. Okay, so if these are positive, everything else is negative. If these are positive, everything else is negative. If these are positive, everything else is negative. Okay? So, if you remember the phrase, all students take calculus, oh, that would be a wonderful thing. You can remember the basic functions that are positive. For quadrant 1, all are positive. For quadrant 2, the sine is positive. For quadrant 3, the tangent is positive. For quadrant 4, the cosine is positive. So if you know that sine, tangent, and cosine are positive, then you know their reciprocal functions are also positive. Okay? So just remember, all students take calculus, and you can remember from quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4 which values are positive, and of course their reciprocals. Okay, so let's see what we can come up with on these particular problems. It tells us on number 1, tangent of theta is greater than 0. If you're greater than 0, what that's telling us is the tangent of theta is going to be positive. Okay, what quadrants could the terminal side of theta be? So when is the tangent positive? Okay, the tangent is positive in quadrant 1 and in quadrant 3. So that tells me that in quadrant 1 or quadrant 3, we could have the terminal side of our angle, and that would give us a positive tangent. Look at number 3. The sine is greater than 0. So that means the sine of theta once again, is positive. So where could the terminal side be? Well, when is the sign positive? The sign is positive in quadrant 1 and in quadrant 2. So our terminal side of our angle could be in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2. That's not so bad, is it? Okay. So I'm giving you the 2 tough problems to do. Well, number 4 is tough. So I want you to do number 2 and number 4 on your own and turn it in. All right. Now, what I'm going to do on this second section, on 5 through 16, I'm going to do 5, 8, 11, and 14. And then you're going to do 6, 9, 12, and 15, 7, 10, 13, and 16, okay? You'll need your unit circle for this, all right? Where it says find the measure of the reference angle, we are not doing that. You are memorizing your unit circle and figuring stuff out from there, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the sine of 150 degrees. Remember, the sine is your y value. Okay, so go to your unit circle and find 150 degrees. 150 degrees is located right here in the second quadrant. Okay, we know in the second quadrant your sine is positive. So find your y value. It's equal to 1/2. So the sine of 150 degrees is actually equal to 1/2. Isn't that great? No computations needed. Okay. Now, number 8, we have 315 degrees. Now, we're wanting to find the cotangent. Remember, cotangent, it's not y over x, it's x over y. Okay, so go to 315 degrees, and you'll see that you have the square root of 2 over 2 and the negative square root of 2 over 2. All right, so we want to put right here, x, over this one right here, y. So you'll have the square root of 2 over 2 over the negative square root of 2 over 2. A number divided by itself is equal to 1. Opposite signs make it a negative 1. Next, you have the cosine. This one's in radians, 11 pi over 6. Okay, so go to your radians and find 11 pi over 6, 330 degrees, same thing. And we're finding the cosine. Cosine is equal to x. So the cosine of 11 pi over 6 is going to be the square root of 3 over 2. And then the tangent of 3/4 pi, or 3 pi over 4. All right, 3 pi over 4 is at 135 degrees. Now we're finding the tangent. Remember, tangent is y over x. So that's going to be the square root of 2 over 2 and the negative square root of 2 over 2. Okay, a number divided by itself is equal to 1. Opposite signs make it a negative 1. Okay, and that is going to be your tangent. So, like I said, I want you to finish up the rest of this worksheet and send it in. So you'll do 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 12, 13, 15, and 16. Y'all have a great day.